We are back to Pakistan. A thick frost has enveloped its ties with India. But just days ago, and in the heart of Europe, Pakistanis who don't want to be Pakistani registered their strongest protest against Islamabad's rule at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. Both activists from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well as from Balochistan want Pakistan out of their lives for gobbling up their resources and for brutal human rights violations upon people that it calls its own citizens. Now, Pakistan routinely lays claim to India's state of Jammu and Kashmir and continues to squat on the northern part of the state. But now its forcible occupation has been laid bare by Kashmiris themselves. During the 37th session of the UNHCR in Geneva, political activists from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan shouted slogans asking Islamabad to lay off and let them live in peace. Their main demands are: they want equal rights under Pakistan's rules. That is, of course, what they're demanding of Islamabad. They also want freedom from Pakistani occupation. Remember, these are some of the demands that were raised in Geneva. The Pakistani jails should be freed of their activists is another demand that has been put forward. And, of course, an end to human rights abuses and violations by Pakistan state machinery. It's also asked that the UN send fact-finding teams to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to understand for themselves what's going on the ground. Now, the Indian diaspora Kashmiris say they can only hope that these things can take place. Meanwhile, it's clear that the citizens of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan want Pakistan out of their land and their lives. Their key points are that they have no equal rights under Pakistani rule, they want freedom from Pakistan occupation, and they want their jails to be free of these their activists, and, of course, an end to human rights violations. Now, a day later, activists from Balochistan swelled the number of those fed up of Pakistan's illegal occupation of their land. They raised their own issues, many of which coincide with the woes of the Kashmiris under the government of Pakistan. At their demonstrations, Baloch activists led by the Baloch Republican Party in exile disclosed the bitter truth that Pakistan is robbing Balochistan of its precious natural resources, leaving the Balochi people themselves to struggle to survive in quote-unquote Stone Age conditions. They also stress that torture and custodial killings of Balochis by Islamabad authorities are commonplace, that Baloch women suffer the most because of constant bereavement in their families caused by Pakistan. They also disclose some shocking figures that 300,000 Balochis have disappeared and that even Baloch children aren't spared Islamabad's tyranny. All these details have been often repeated in the highest global forums around the world. But the world has preferred to turn a blind eye as long as countries like the United States view Pakistan as a strategic partner in their own regional wars. But with Pakistan's reputation as the mothership of terrorism having firmly been established around the world, it's only a matter of time before the charmed circle protecting Pakistan melts away, leaving the terror state to fend for itself. And joining me this evening on the broadcast is senior journalist Emir Shaheen, who's speaking with us from Islamabad. Emir, good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast. I want to ask you first up, it wasn't just, the Balochis, Sindhis who've raised concern about their conditions, but also other members of minorities groups in Pakistan. Christian women too have raised concern over things like the blasphemy law. Do these reports come as embarrassment, sustained embarrassment for Pakistan?
Thank you for having me. As you've mentioned, I am a journalist from Pakistan, and the issues pertaining to Balochistan and a few others are very sensitive issues. And the problem about talking in the Indian media about these issues is, number one, because I have to be unbiased as a journalist and I have to look at just the facts. It puts me under immense pressure to speak the facts that would be seen as going against my country, although I believe they don't. I'm just highlighting some problems that I would want us to address. Having said that, it's also difficult to talk about these issues because of the fact that I'm talking to Indian media and Indian media, I mean, I highlight the issues pertaining to human rights violations in Balochistan, for example. But when I'm talking to the Indian media, they would never accept that there are human rights violations in Indian occupied or Indian held Kashmir. So this adds extra pressure on a person like me who wants to be unbiased, but when I am unbiased and the other side is talking about things like the Balochis don't want to be with Pakistan and
Right.
And other people from other areas of Pakistan don't want to be. These are, for example, the Balochistan party that you're talking about, the Balochistan Republican Party, BRP. BRP is a splinter faction from the original Jamhuri Watan Party, which contests the elections in Pakistan and which is part of the mainstream politics. It has at least one seat in the parliament as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a splinter group. And the leader of that group, Brahm Bukti, has given in his interview to the BBC mentioned the fact that he does get help from India for his struggle for independence. So he's not taken as a very positive figure in Pakistan, in Pakistani power circles. And he is considered by most people as the enemy of the state.
Okay.
There are
Allow me to come in a second, Emmer. I just want to ask you, you've raised some valid points, and I can understand the position you find yourself in. But first of all, I'll urge you to be, as candid as you like. We are a channel headquartered out of India, but we are open to hearing your point of view as well. I want to ask you specifically, though, in your opinion and in your, experience as a journalist living in Pakistan, let's forget about what's happening, at the United Nations for a second. Do you find the reportage on these kinds of, allegations that are leveled against the Pakistani state about repression of minority rights, repression of Balochis, as credible reports that you are forced to, look at with an unrelenting, let's say, neutral point of view as a journalist? Does that come up enough?
These issues that are being raised are not reports, but yes, the reports that come related to human rights violation, for example, the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan comes up with such reports in which such violations of human rights are violated. Yes, they are a big concern and very embarrassing for me as a citizen of a country that does not treat all its citizens with equality and with equal human rights. It is a big problem for us. It's heart-wrenching, but the fact that we especially the Balochistan issue is an issue that in the media it's very hard to cover. Some time back, there were some students from Lahore University of Management Sciences. They wanted to hold talks on the Balochistan issue, and the powers that be came in direct conflict with the issue. Sabeen Mahmood, another human rights activist, did. It was cancelled at the university, so she did that conversation at her T2F. She was murdered on the same day as the discussions started. So this is the current scenario of the Balochistan issue. This is a sensitive issue. The powers that be, the military establishment, is very wary of anybody raising that issue, especially in the mainstream media.
All right. And what about minority religious groups and minority sects within Islam as well, and the use of the blasphemy law? That, of course, has been getting a lot of media attention as well. Do you feel that it isn't just the authorities' attitude towards these people, but perhaps a change will have to be more pervasive in terms of the larger population's view of these groups as well?
The blasphemy area is a very dangerous area. Even currently now, the media channel that I work for and some very close journalists to me are still, their cases are being heard. Their so-called blasphemy cases are being heard. It is a big tool for the religious fundamentalist power circles that they use. It's a very sensitive issue for a wide majority of the populace in Pakistan. It is less sensitive for the military establishment per se, but then those political parties that are religiously inclined and are inclined towards the military establishment, they use this every time there is an issue with, let's say, a media group with the military establishment. All of a sudden, they do get accused of blasphemy. It is a no-go area even to discuss. Some religious clerics who have given sermons against the misuse of blasphemy are not in Pakistan anymore. They've had to leave the country. So blasphemy issues pertaining to Balochistan are a big no-go area. And here you are asking me to talk about them on your channel.
I appreciate you not being able to. We'll have to leave it at that. Emmer, thanks for being candid as always. Appreciating you sharing your perspective with us.